moderator for today's forum. As we know, the 41st provincial election is underway, and election day is rapidly approaching on Tuesday, August the 17th. Today's event is sponsored by the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors. Thank you also to GBBA's corporate sponsor, Boyne Clark LLP, and to our Zoom sponsor, Keith McKay. A special welcome today to our candidates, and thank you all for taking the time in the middle of a busy election campaign to speak to owners, workers, and customers for the many businesses here in Burnside. First, I'd like to welcome the incumbent from the NDP, Susan LeBlanc. As a former actor and co-artistic director of Zappa Theatre, Susan has been a vibrant and dedicated advocate for the arts in Nova Scotia for over 2 decades. She has childcare, more affordable, adequate housing, Dartmouth Lakes, and better access to primary health care. She has challenged systemic anti-Black racism in her opposition to street checks and has been lobbying for satellite mental health services in Dartmouth North. She cares deeply about Nova Scotia and her community of Dartmouth North, where she lives with her partner, her 2 children, and 2 dogs. Second, we have today the Liberal candidate, Pam Cooley. Pam is known as the Car Share Lady, being the co-founder of Car Share Atlantic, now Communato Atlantic, a social and environmental enterprise providing an alternative to personally owned vehicles. Pam is also the founder of Choose Ethical Ventures, Inc., a facilitation and consulting company. She has worked with over 250 businesses, non-for-profits, and government departments. As a dedicated volunteer, Pam is currently giving her time on the board of Inspiring Communities. She works with Tennis Nova Scotia and is also part of a team working to develop the new Mi'kmaq Friendship Center in Halifax. And last, certainly not least, Lisa Coates was named as a PC candidate in Dartmouth North in June. She is a biracial single woman who understands the struggle of being underestimated in a minority community facing regentrifications and recognizes the importance of having a strong, clear voice for the community, environment, and businesses. She is Atlantic Canada's first Black female general contractor who built a successful general construction company from the ground. She is the founder of the Nova Scotia Professional Black Business Network, a former board member of the Better Business Bureau, Center for Women in Business, and is a proud supporter of Women's Unlimited and the Nova Scotia film industry. So with that, let's hear from your candidates. To begin, each candidate will be given 1 minute for their opening statement. We held a random draw just before today's event. And to get started, I'd like to ask Susan LeBlanc. You have 1 minute.
Well, hi, thanks, Amy, and thanks to everyone in this room and out in Zoom land. I'm really happy to be here. I have had the pleasure and the honor of serving Dartmouth North, both residents and businesses, for the last 4 years. And I've really enjoyed being able to work with the GBBA during that time. The pandemic has caused much hardship for businesses in Dartmouth North, and our office has been assisting businesses through all 3 waves of the pandemic to answer questions, to clarify the rules, and to make sure that businesses are running as well as possible. I am really excited to be here. I am looking forward to the discussion, and I will leave it there.
Thank you, Susan. And next today, speaking second with your opening statement, Pam Cooley. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Amy has said, I'm Pam Cooley, and I'm the Liberal candidate for Dartmouth North. Thank you to the Greater Burnside Business Association for hosting us today. Thank you, Amy, for being the MC. This is an amazing business park. As Dee told me, it's the largest one east of Montreal. And thank you to my colleagues, Sue and Lisa, for being here as well. As a successful entrepreneur, I understand the hard work it goes into building and starting a business. Taking that idea, that glimmer in your eye to start up to an successful operation and then to sell it. I know what it takes because I've done it. I congratulate all the businesses, all the people that have been part of building and maintaining their businesses, especially. I'm recognizing how difficult it has been over the last 1.5 years. But I'm excited to be a part of Team Rankin as we move from the pandemic to a stronger, sustainable economy. In fact, in an hour, the Premier will be announcing the last pillar of our platform, which will be on the economy. So go take a look at that. It's about what we can do for business, but it's also what we can do for families to ensure they have the opportunities to start businesses or get into the work of our sustainable jobs. If elected, I will work hard and listen to Dartmouth North residents and businesses to make sure I'm on the right track. And I look forward to the questions.
Thanks, Pam. And third today, we have Lisa Coates. Please go ahead with your 1 minute.
Hi, I'm Lisa Coates, and some of you know me. I was also an employee and a business owner here in Burnside, in the Burnside Business Park. Thank you, Pam and Susan. I'm really looking forward to today, as well as the Burnside Business Association for hosting this wonderful event and giving the opportunity to 3 very powerful women to voice our opinions and stand by our parties. And I'm just looking forward to this. So thank you, and let the games begin.
Thanks, Lisa. And with that, let's let the games begin. Our first question this afternoon is on the topic of housing. Good communities help attract and retain a good workforce. These communities provide a mix of housing types and costs for people of all life stages. In order to build whole communities, municipalities must have the ability to put incentives in place to encourage development for units that fit a variety of income levels and families. Will your government commit to giving more control to municipalities in order to implement inclusionary zoning and other proven municipal housing incentives? Why or why not? And with our random draw, Susan, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Okay, thanks. Well, I'll begin by saying that in my office for the last 3 years, especially, housing has been the #1 issue that people come in with. Either people are worried about being rent evicted, their rents are too high for them to afford and incomes are not matching the rental increases, or there's simply no place for them to find a place to live in the community. These issues started in Dartmouth North, as I said, about 3 years ago, and we've seen them expanding throughout the province over the last 3 years. So yes, I would say absolutely. To answer the question, we in the NDP are very much in favor of inclusionary zoning. In fact, we tabled legislation in the legislature, I think 2 years ago, asking for inclusionary zoning. It was an answer to the call from municipalities, and the Liberal government chose to not debate the legislation and to leave it on the order paper. We also, aside from inclusionary zoning, know that we need to have some form of rent control in the province. And we also need to build at least 1,000 new affordable units very quickly. So those are the things that we are committing to off the bat in this election. In the last 8 years, the Liberal government has only built, I believe, 200 units of affordable housing, and the wait lists for affordable housing and subsidized housing are absolutely huge. I would say we have a serious crisis. It's not me saying it, everyone is saying it. We have a serious affordable housing crisis, and becoming homeless is a real possibility for many, many people who never thought it was. It's a scary time for many people, and we are working very hard to address the issues. I have a question about time. Will you cut us off, Amy?
I will cut you off.
Okay, good. I'm done.
Perfect. Zoom technology, unmuting myself. And next with 2 minutes, Pam Cooley.
Thank you. I agree with Sue. People are scared, and so we are listening to the residents as to what they need, and we are listening to the experts to solve the solution, to have the solution. The Economic Growth Council recommended to enhance provincial and municipal collaboration to ensure an adequate housing strategy for all housing types. The Affordable Housing Commission report that was just put out has 17 recommendations and 60 actions that has been totally accepted by the Liberal government. And we are thrilled that this report has also been publicly endorsed by the Executive Director of the Affordable Housing Society of Nova Scotia as the path forward. In that report, it is recommended that the provincial legislation be reviewed to ensure municipalities have the authority to take innovative approaches to encourage development particularly as it relates to affordable housing. In Dartmouth North, my vision is to work with the wonderful organizations in the riding already to create what I'm calling a continuum of housing options to meet the needs of Dartmouth North residents. What this means is that if you're experiencing homelessness, you'll have a place to go for a temporary living situation to then move to an affordable or supported housing, depending on what you need. And then a myriad of options for affordable housing for people with different needs, right up to a lease to own program, all within the riding. And this way, people can increase their quality of life in the area where their friends are and their community supports are. So this is my vision for Dartmouth North and the Liberal vision for residents in general. So thank you.
Thank you, Pam. And third on this question regarding housing is our PC candidate, Lisa Coates. I'll give you 2 minutes.
Thank you. Can you hear me? You can't hear me.
Yes,
Not yet.
we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, you can. Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry, I have the sun in my eyes, so I can't see when I unmute myself. All right, so to answer your question, I will advocate with any initiative that will provide affordable housing for all Nova Scotians. Any initiative can be done with the consultation with municipalities and not to impose on them. In short, it's wonderful to sit there and say, I'm going to build this or I'm going to do that. Yes, we have a plan. We want to build 500 affordable housing units. But it's going to take time. I was a contractor and they don't go up overnight. And I know from being on the welfare system that the process to get in to one of these programs, it's not that easy. So realistically, it can be done and we will do it, especially in Dartmouth North, because we do see the need. We know about the homeless people in the tent city down there on Gary Street. But it's going to take time, and the only way we can implement this plan is if I'm voted in. That's it.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Now we have allowed about 5 minutes of discussion on this topic. I would just ask the candidates in the room and those watching us to be patient as we mute and unmute to avoid sound issues, since we are all in the room together. But I will give you 5 minutes. Which of you would like to kick the discussion off? Well, I agree with Lisa. I think that it does.
What we need are innovative ideas. We need new housing stock that meets the needs of many different types of housing. We need it accessible, we need it safe, we need it affordable. And a lot of people are talking about affordable housing right now, and most people say this is not affordable, particularly for people who are on limited budgets. And so, yes, the Liberal government has made the commitment to follow the affordable housing Housable Commission report and all of the innovative ideas in there. And that was done by a myriad of people that have their hands in on the housing situation as well. So we are going to follow that. And if people want to look that up, it's absolutely comprehensive. It's absolutely meeting the mark. And it's been endorsed by people who know what's needed. So yes, that's what the Liberal government will do.
Susan?
Yeah, thanks, Amy. I have a lot of good things to say about the Affordable Housing Commission report. I think there's some really important steps to take in there, including the one where the premier or the leader, excuse me, of the Liberals waffled on for quite a while, which was the direct spending of $25 million immediately to support people who are facing homelessness. Thank God he has finally decided that that's within his budget to do. I think the shock is that he had to think about that one. It's a really, really necessary step. I would say that, as Lisa said, affordable housing does take time. So as she said, we cannot build it overnight. And so in the meantime, temporary housing measures and in this case, the Liberals have been using hotels as temporary housing measures. They're great for a week or two, but people cannot raise their families in a hotel room. I have supported people in my office, a mother of 4 children who lived in a hotel room for months waiting for some kind of permanent housing situation. And she was not able to pack lunches for her children. She was not able to cook for her children. She had to order out meals every day. It's simply unsustainable, and people should not have to live like that. We need to be able to keep people in their homes, in their apartments, with measures like rent control, and also, of course, working on people on increasing wages so that people can sustain the kind of increases that are happening right now. But temporary housing options are obviously important, but there has to be a long-term solution. I hear that the government wants that. I hear the continuum of housing. We have a continuum of housing in Nova Scotia, but the Liberal government has underfunded it. So if they are serious about this, they would have done something in the last 8 years.
Thanks, Sue. I'm gonna pass this over to Lisa. We have about 2 minutes left.
Hi. Okay, so my take on this one is when it comes to affordable housing, it's really hard. If you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. So putting somebody on welfare and giving them affordable housing isn't really fixing a problem. Fixing a problem means enabling them with the tools that they can sustain life themselves. That mother of 4, instead of sitting home and having to worry about packing lunches, she might want to, get enrolled into continuing education, which I'm sure she really would like to do, because she didn't have that opportunity before. It's really strange. Until you start talking to the people or walking in their shoes, it's hard to say, yes, I don't want to live in a hotel. That's an obvious. But if it's a short term to get them into something that's sustainable, but if the landlords are making the rent that it's not achievable. So when their income is, let's say, $600 for living, and the government is only giving them $605, we have a gap. So it's so hard to explain here. You can't live like that. So they're going to be stuck in these hotels, or they're going to wait 2 years to live somewhere, and that's not fixing this. So the PC party, that's us, we came up with a solution. So let's say the mother of 4, she, we get the daycare thing for $10 a day. We want employers, if they're corporations, to give back 50% of the corporate tax. We will give them that as a rebate, and then they give that to the employees. So actually they have a better cost of living and they get more money. Sorry, I'm out of time.
It's tough, isn't it?
Thanks, ladies. A very important topic. We have to move on from that. So our second question, in a different category, this question will go to Pam Cooley. It's from our friends at DASC, the Dartmouth Adult Services Center here in Burnside. DASC is an agency which promotes the social and economic inclusion of persons with intellectual disabilities. They host vocational, job skills, community employment, active lifestyle, recreation, life enhancement, and youth programs. The past year has been a tough one for agencies like theirs. The impacts of COVID included a drop in revenue in their fundraising and in the business center social enterprise. What is your party's commitment to increasing Department of Community Services core funding to agencies like DASC if your party forms Pam?
Thanks, Amy. I love DASC. We use them for our buttons for my campaign, and tomorrow I'm going to for a tour at Lake City Works. I love social enterprises in general as they serve a dual purpose. To give meaningful employment and training opportunities that enriches lives is crucial, but it also adds value to the economy as a small business. Yes, over the last year and a half, it's been rough for all types of businesses. And we need to recover in a way that everyone can have the opportunity to grow and to succeed. Supporting adults with diverse abilities is part of this. In the most recent budget, the ranking government committed $46.7 million increase for programs that support adults and children with disabilities. And $12.5 million of that funding is is directed to the Disability Support Program for residential and community-based programs for adults. Last month, the province doubled its support to $1 million for the Flower Cart Group construction of a new facility in New Minas to help adults with diverse abilities. We will continue to support organizations like the Flower Cart and the Dartmouth Adult Service Center through investments from the Department of Community Services by ensuring that social enterprises like these can take advantage of the same supports that are available to all small businesses. I'm a business person, and my response to how do we work together to grow the awareness of all businesses in Dartmouth North? How do we raise them up as places to go for goods and services? Perhaps we get all the stakeholders together and to figure this out. And I know you've been doing this already. When I see this is happening, it's already happening with the I Love Dartmouth mobilization. And so how can we build on that as entrepreneurs? Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Over to Lisa Coates with 2 minutes.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I'm going to ask you that every time. Just get used to it, okay? All right. Well, first, like Pam, I also supported the PC party, the DASK, and our buttons were made by them also. So we were very fortunate to have this opportunity to work with them in our community. The work they do is inspiring and truly makes a difference to the lives of Nova Scotians. The solution button that I'm wearing is a true testament to the work that they can do. And like Pam said, you know, down at Lake City Works. But the PC Party wants all Nova Scotians to thrive. And that's why we would like to work to provide a stable long-term funding for amazing organizations like DASK. That's it. I don't talk much, I'm sorry.
You can make up for it in discussion. And with 2 minutes on the same question, over to Susan LeBlanc.
Yep, also made my buttons at DASK, love DASK, have been buying buttons from them for years for our theater company as well. I was happy to do a tour of DASK with my colleague Claudia Chender earlier in my mandate, as they say, and really obviously think that the work that's going on there and at Lake City Works is really important. And the pandemic has been hard on social enterprises and day programs for people with intellectual disabilities and mental health issues. I know that both Lake City Works and the folks at DASK, obviously there were long periods of time where they weren't able to come and do the work that they're doing at the programs. And that's been really hard for the clients in particular. So yes, the NDP government is very much in favor of continuing and advancing support for organizations that are run by or that are funded through the Department of Community Services. I would say that you know, one of the things to pay attention to is that the Liberals in the next year or two are planning on, or according to Ian Rankin, they're going to have to cut $209 million from somewhere based on his calculations of the budgets. And the last time that happened, after a Liberal majority government came in, there were massive freezes in organizations that were funded by community services. So I'm very worried about that. It's all well and good to say we support, but you know, what happens when all those budgets have to be frozen? So yeah, the NDP government would increase funding to Department of Community Services for those anchor organizations.
Thank you, Susan. And now it's time for open discussion on this topic. Candidates, you have 5 minutes, and I'll look for somebody's eyes, whether they'd like to kick it off. Pam, over to you.
Well, I just have to respond to Sue's comments about our decrease in threatening and creating fear where the fear is not necessary. But I think, you know, this throwing around this amount of money that we're and creating this fear, this is basically going to come from the reduction of the needs that we've had through COVID. So largely the decrease in this amount that the NDP keep on throwing around is largely going to be a reduction of the costs from COVID. And so please don't be afraid. It's something that we want optimism, and that's what we're bringing from the Liberal Party. Optimism, not fear. Thank you.
Lisa, go ahead. You need to unmute yourself.
Hi. I agree with Pam, and that fear is not the solution. There's money to do these programs. And yes, we're going to go into a deficit to implement a lot of it, but we're already in a deficit. We're always going to be in a deficit. Until from the time you're born until 18, you're not in a deficit. As soon as you turn 18, you get that credit card, you're in a deficit. It's life. But this deficit is going to be positive. It's going to help organizations like DASC. It's going to help community services. It's going to help empower people and teach them how to fish. Again, teach people to fish. They live for a lifetime. Drop the mic.
Susan?
Yeah, thanks. Listen, in a perfect world, I would love to say that sounds great. And we're going to spend money on everything we need to spend. But we know that in the past 8 years, the Liberal government has been balancing budgets on the backs of the most vulnerable people in our province. So let's talk a minute again about the clients that go to DASC or Lake City. Many of them have been waiting for community homes, for instance. They want to live in community. Their parents, aging parents, want places for their children to be able to be set up for life in a healthy, happy place to live. There was a roadmap for community homes for folks with intellectual and physical disabilities that was brought in by the NDP government, adopted by the Liberal government, and then expanded from 5 years to 10 years by the Liberal government. There were supposed to be 75 homes built. And so far we've got 8. So if there's money to go around, then we should be spending it in the right places. I don't want to be fearful. I want to be hopeful. So here's a piece of hope. Let's build some homes for folks who need them.
Lisa?
Pam, that's a good question. Can you answer that, please?
I'm sorry, what question was that?
What happens to the
Specifically.
75 homes? How come they only got 8?
Listen, I can't make excuses for the Liberal government. I am a new politician in this race, so I don't have the answer to that. I'm sure that COVID had a little bit to do with it. The COVID put a stop on a lot of things and a lot of construction, and that was a whole year and a half. Plus, the fact that it takes a while, as Lisa said, takes a while for things to get built. The vacancy rate is very, very low, and it's a very complex way in which all of that comes together. But the housing plan, the affordable housing plan, the Affordable Housing Commission report, that's the plan that the Liberals are going to do, and that also has everything that we've been talking about in it. So I look forward to an optimistic, not a fearful future.
Lisa, about 45 seconds.
Got a button here. Can you hear me? Oh, you can't do it. All right, one second.
It wasn't an attack, Pam. I was just asking. I thought you might know. That's all that was.
Yeah, no, I would tell you if I knew too.
No, because it was a legitimate question.
Yeah, for sure.
Susan, seriously, that was a legitimate question. As far as we're concerned, we are going forward with building affordable housing for not only seniors, but for, everybody that needs it. But again, it's going to take time. I have 45 seconds. I'm out.
All right, that is about all the time we have for that question. So on to our third question of the day. Based on the random draw that we had earlier, Lisa Coates, you'll be the first one to answer this question, which is from one of our members, Leonard Coit, from the Mackey Moving Systems Atlantic. Transportation is a top of mind concern for the businesses and labor force in Burnside. The Nova Scotia TIR Highway 107 project, known as the Burnside Expressway, is underway and should alleviate a good portion of the 40,000 commuters through the Magazine Hill route to Bedford-Sackville. Will the project meet the targeted opening of fall 2023? And will this be a toll highway maintained by a contracted firm or a no toll highway maintained by the province? What is your party's plan to address the transportation issues faced by businesses and the labor force for Dartmouth Coal Harbour? Lisa, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I got my mic on too. Okay, so Traffic gridlocks make distractions and nobody likes them. Okay, so if that's a hassle, we don't need. However, as far as meeting the 2023 deadline, I don't think that's going to happen with COVID. I reviewed the plan briefly before I came into this room today, and I don't see that because of the environmental impact that the British Columbia forest fires have brought to our awareness. It's a game changer, and I think the EPA might be brought in to make some of these decisions and move this project maybe forward or sideways. The PC party is greatly against toll highways, and we understand that that could impact employees and businesses. And I can't speak for the contract that the government has to complete the Burnside Expressway because I wasn't involved in that, and nor was our party. But if we're voted in, we will be definitely involved and get that project done as close to on time. But again, we haven't seen the report, and I don't know anything about it. I'm sorry, I can't give you a better answer, but it's the truth.
That's all we can ask for. Okay, next with your 2 minutes, Susan LeBlanc, go ahead.
Great, thanks. Yes, I have been the NDP's critic for transportation and active transit for the last 4 years, and so I've been watching this project pretty closely. And the last I heard, it was on track. But of course, you know, we're in an election campaign right now, so haven't been able to check in with any executive assistants or ministers or anything like that. But I do connect with Gary Rayfuse, who is our the transportation and infrastructure, or sorry, transportation active transit central director for the Dartmouth region. And you know, I have a good working relationship with him, and he keeps me up to date on what's going on. So last I heard, yeah, it's on track. Now, to the toll question, absolutely, we would be against making a toll on that highway. But to the other part of the question, which is about what else we can do to alleviate traffic issues and help the transportation system, we believe heavily that we need to invest in public transit, so improving the bus system to Burnside from Halifax and other areas of Dartmouth. We need to look at this ferry from Bedford, and wouldn't it be awesome if we had a little stop off, you know, at Shannon Park or somewhere like that, where people who work in Burnside could take the ferry from Bedford and then get on a bus up to Burnside. And also active transit. So right now there's consultations going on to connect Dartmouth North with the Burnside Greenway, which is really exciting. And so there will be a better development of active transit in the area. I think that that's a really important thing for people to have a safe option to cycle or skateboard or rollerblade or whatever they want to do to work is a great option. We know that people, there's a study out of England that says that people who cycle to work, to work and home, they can cut their chances of heart disease and cancer in half. So we want to encourage active transit as much as we can with our workforce, and especially in this community where not everyone has access to vehicles. So yeah, active transit and public transit are big components of getting people to Burnside and out of Burnside safely and easily.
Thanks, Susan. And with her 2 minutes, same question, Pam Cooley.
Thank you, Amy. Well, I'm happy to report that the Highway 107 project is on track for completion by the fall of 2023. This is what I've been told. There will not be a toll on this highway, and it will be maintained by the province. So that's the answer to your the question. But I also want to say that you know, we think that we're confident that this project will have a very positive impact on the businesses and labor force in Burnside. You know, you've got 40,000 vehicles coming in and out of with congestion and everything else that that creates. So we think that it will be a win-win-win. It will be a win for the workers. It'll be a win for the businesses here, and ease of access for the clients, ease of access for the workers. And I agree with everything that Sue said about the active transportation. And the fact that the Liberal government has just put millions of dollars into new electric buses and rebates for electric bicycles, and so I think that a whole combination, and I know that the that there's 30,000 people coming and going from this area a day, and for them to have more mobility options, that is fantastic. And I agree with the whole ferry thing too. I think it would be great. People come from Bedford, stop off at Shannon, and make their way up. So yeah, I think it's very positive for Dartmouth North residents and Burnside as well. So that's it.
Thanks, Pam. So with the other questions, we have 5 minutes for discussion. Who would like to kick us off? Susan, over to you.
Yeah, I think mostly the Liberals and NDP are on side with when it comes to electrifying public transit and all of those options. But I would say that one thing that I've been advocating for all the time I've been elected is better active transit infrastructure. So it's all well and good to give someone a rebate for their electric bicycle, but if they're not going to ride it on the roads because they're going to get hit by a truck, then there's something wrong there. So we do need to make sure we keep investing in our active transit infrastructure. I'm really excited about the separated bike lanes on Wise Road that are happening right now. I think that will encourage a lot of people to cycle to Halifax, for instance, from Dartmouth North for work. And I'd love to see those kinds of pathways increased and expanded throughout the HRM, and in fact in any community where people need to commute to work.
Thanks, Susan. Pam, you look like you got something to say.
No, I don't. I really don't have anything more to add. I mean, I can't disagree with what. I mean, it's kudos to the city, the municipal government, and the people who are working on the integrated mobility plan. They have a wonderful plan. I was part of making sure that happens in Halifax. Because of being the entrepreneur with CarShare, CarShare works with a multi-mobility approach, so people don't have to use their personal use vehicles. And so, yes, kudos to the city, kudos to the province and their collaboration for making all of that happen.
I agree.
It's not often that we get everybody agree.
I would love to know, Amy, if we have a bit of time, if the PCs have a plan for active transit.
Lisa, I think that's for you.
That is a great question. They didn't tell me about it.
All right, if nobody else has anything to add on that, we'll move on to the next question. So that is on a topic about a clean economy. Burnside is home to a number of businesses who focus on innovative solutions to climate challenges. For example, Carbon Cure Technologies has won multiple awards for clean technology, and an EV store reflects the growing popularity of electric vehicles. What are your plans and your party's plans to support businesses as we continue our transition to a clean economy? And this question is first to Sue LeBlanc. You have 2 minutes.
Excuse me. Thank you, Amy. Yes, the NDP is the only party so far that has put forward a green jobs plan in this election and in this couple of years, in fact. We have plans for expanding green jobs and clean jobs in Nova Scotia that will greatly impact for the better businesses in Burnside. So we're talking about deep energy retrofitting. We're talking about solar and wind. We're talking about building a network of charging stations across the province for electric vehicles. All of these things will not only help us meet our climate targets, which, by the way, the NDP has in my opinion, stronger and better targets than the other two parties for reducing our greenhouse gas emissions and doing our part to keep our Earth from warming more than 1.5 degrees. The difference between our green energy plan and the plans that we've heard from the Liberals is that ours is the equivalent of removing 240,000 cars off the roads by 2030. So not to say that we will do that, but our plan will do the equivalent of that work. So I'm really proud of our green jobs plan. It's part of an economic recovery that's connected to recovering from COVID. Yeah, and I'll leave it there because I'm interested in the discussion.
Thanks, Sue. And next on this with 2 minutes, Pam, go ahead.
Got it. Okay, thank you, Amy. Listen, there's so much to say on this subject. Obviously, it's close to my heart as I co-founded an environmental company myself. These are two amazing examples of entrepreneurs that took a risk to make the planet a better place. And I have the privilege of knowing these two entrepreneurs and been following them, and they're just excellent. A transition to a clean economy is one of the main reasons why I ran for office for the Liberal Party, because it's the first time I've actually seen an actual plan where business and the environment and jobs is at the forefront. The Liberal Party of Nova Scotia is committed to aiding all businesses as we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic and emerge into a green economy. The Sustainable Innovation Rebate Program, currently with Liberals will continue to help businesses become more competitive by providing 25% rebate for the creation of innovative solutions. We also continue to help modernize business production by supporting the purchase of new innovative green tech. There is a shortage of workers. And this is where the Clean Economy Plan will educate the workforce of today for the jobs and skills of tomorrow. $77.8 million investment in Nova Scotia Community College will make it the hub for innovation, training, and job creation across the province. The investment will add 800 new seats to programs in residential construction trades. They're crying for more people in order to do what we need to do. Environmental stewardship, to make them people available to do the environmental businesses that we have, like wind energy and solar, and the health disciplines as well. We've also created 6,000 new seats in short career advancing and skills upgrading programs for people so they can meet the needs of the businesses that are requiring to hire. In response to the Economic Growth Council recommendations, the Liberal government will remove an additional $30 million of unnecessary regulatory burden to ease business startup and growth by the end of 2022. If I am elected, I will make sure that I bring these concerns and make sure to government table and make sure that these programs work for businesses and the people of Dartmouth North.
Thanks, Pam. And I'm sure you'll have more to say in discussion. But first, with her 2 minutes, Lisa, over to you.
Okay, I know I'm unmuted this time. Haha. All right, so first of all, the PC Party has developed a new program. It's called Nova Scotia Loyal. So this is going to help reduce on carbon gases with trucks coming out of the province, bringing in supplies like, apples or cherries or textiles or whatever the case may be, because we're going to have a free program where the merchant or service is given this machine, and similar to air miles, the consumer swipes this and they accumulate points. With these points, they can go to Access Nova Scotia to renew their license, or whatever other body that is provincially run to reduce the cost of services. That's just one thing. Then the PC Party is also proud to be in history on the environment. The party brought forth the groundbreaking environmental goals and sustainability prosperity Act in 2007. That legislation put Nova Scotia on the inevitable road that we are now. Recently, former Premier McNeil credited that legislation for success Nova Scotia has accomplished. A PC government will introduce an Enviro Goals and Climate Change Reduction Act that will identify and showcase Nova Scotia as a world leader of adapting to green energy measures and following climate-friendly sustainable development. Updating existing environmental decisions and making the process to include diversity, inclusion, and equality. And then 80% of the electricity must be supplied by renewable energy, again, agreeing with both parties, by 2030. And that provides a lot of potential for innovative industries. So in short, we have a plan. We definitely have a plan, because this is very close to our hearts and very close to my heart. And like Pam, it's one of the reasons I got into politics. So I'm here and you should vote for me. Thank you.
Well, we'll have some discussion about that. We have 5 minutes for discussion on this topic. Just looking for some eyes on who'd like to get things started.
Sure, I'll do it, Amy. The Liberal government, this is the thing, like the Liberal government right now, it's their whole lens. It's how to build back a stronger economy, a sustainable, stronger economy, an equitable, sustainable economy. And this is what we're all about. We've put out the largest RFP in the history of Nova Scotia for renewable energy. That will be 350 kilowatts. It would be 10% of our energy needs in Nova Scotia. I mean, this is huge. The businesses that will be created, the jobs that will be created, it will be historic. And I believe that, all of the things that we're putting in place, the electrification of the buses, the electrification and the rebates for more electric use of mobility, it continues to be the lens and the way forward for Liberal Nova Scotia.
Susan, you want to get in on this?
Yeah, thanks. I have to say, when Ian Rankin was named leader of the Liberals, I had a moment where I was actually kind of excited. Not about, the Liberal Party in particular, but I thought, well, if anyone has to lead that party, it's probably the best. He's probably the best choice, at least if we're going to, go forward in an environmental stewardship, with environmental stewardship at the helm. Since he's been elected the leader of the Liberals, and I would say this to his face, and I can't wait to see him because I'm disappointed in many of the things that he has done, deeply disappointed. Ian Rankin has walked back the what is it called? Oh my God, the Biodiversity Act. Walked back he allowed it to be tabled in this past session of the legislature. Within days, they took it off the table. They amended it so much without any consultation and before we heard from Law Amendments Committee and the public. They took out all of the teeth of the Biodiversity Act. Ian Rankin has not decided yet if he's going to sell Owl's Head to a golf course developer. We know that the majority of Nova Scotians want our Crown lands to be protected. The NDP would protect Owl's Head, and we would protect all of those parks or those pieces of land that are on that list that that Owl's Head got delisted from in a very secret way. Ian Rankin is not, I don't know if it's brave enough or strong enough to stand up to the lobby against environmental stewardship, and I'm deeply disappointed in what he's done so far. But the other thing I would like to say is Pam mentioned equitable, sustainable economies. I am all for equitable, sustainable economies, but here's an idea. If you want to have an equitable economy and a sustainable economy, you have to have people living in sustainable and stable housing. So the first thing we need to do, or at least the thing that we need to be doing while people are working on the economy, is getting people housed. And here's another idea. How about we do a deep energy retrofitting program, putting people back to work in very good jobs, do deep energy retrofitting of all public housing. So therefore, bringing equity into it. That means the most vulnerable people in our population, or at least some of the vulnerable people, are going to live in comfortable homes that they don't have to pay, much of their income to heat. So we know in Nova Scotia that we have the third largest rate of energy poverty in the country. We need to do some work immediately to address this.
Pam, I'll let you have a response on that, and then Lisa, you'll get the last word on this discussion.
Well, I don't think that it's up to Ian Rankin to make the decision. It's about process. And he would say the same thing. It's about process, that we need to make sure that we have good processes in place in order to make sure that engagement of the people are listened to. And also the truth comes out as opposed to misinformation. So let's follow the processes. Let's make sure that Owl's Head is not a done deal, and they keep on saying it's a done deal. It's not a done deal. It has to go through processes, rigorous environmental processes. We have to hear from the people in the area as to what they want. It's a conflict of values, and then when you have a conflict of values, you have to have these certain processes in order to make sure that you're going to be doing the right thing and not just making a decision on your own, like the NDP candidate said that Ian Rankin can do, which he can't, and nor would he want to.
Sorry, I did not say, excuse me, I did not say that it was
you said Mr. Rankin make the decision, and I said he would never make that decision on his own. So plus also I want to make sure that you know that province is asking Nova Scotian for their ideas in fighting climate change and growing the clean economy. And the consultation that began on May 27th is just being wrapped up, and they're asking Nova Scotians through an interactive tools to make sure that we get everybody's ideas on how to move forward with jobs, ideas, and innovations. And so, yeah, I think that that we're on the right track, and I looked forward to an optimistic, equitable economy. Thank you.
Susan, I know you have a word to say, but I do want to give Lisa a chance to jump.
I'm unmuted. Okay, couple of things. So I'm not sure what's going on with this owl's head. I just found out about it a couple of days ago. I did hear the same thing that Susan heard, that it is a done deal.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. But
I know, I mean, she might not have heard herself, but
you did. It's okay. It's all right. But I did hear that it was a done deal, and it was very disappointing because, as you know, the PCs, we believe in green space. Okay. And Tim was actually there for his anniversary, Saturday. So, but let's go back. I just want to circle back for 2 seconds because everybody's talking about, the green economy and, creating jobs and all this and, public housing, getting solar, energy and reducing this and that. But there's a deeper problem. So that's just the surface. When we get into public housing, I don't know if you guys have been in public housing, but half the time they don't have a countertop. They don't have cabinets. They don't have proper plumbing. They don't have proper heating. They don't have proper anything. They're lucky if sometimes the doors close properly. So why don't we start there and then work our way up to providing, green energy, and maybe getting them some education. Again, teach a man to fish. Like we really need to start.
Here. I will give Susan, I'll give you about 15 seconds to respond. And then
the time is up.
It's okay.
Amy.
Okay. So we are running low on time. I'll give each of you a moment to gather your thoughts, and we'll have our 1 minute for closings. And that will begin with Lisa Coates.
Wow. Okay. So this is my first debate, and I didn't know there was a closing. So I'm just going to thank both of my running mates, Susan and Pam. I think you guys did amazing today. I think that Amy was a great moderator, and thank you to the Greater Burnside Business Association for hosting us. And please vote for me. Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa. Susan, you'll have 1 minute.
Well, I also just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to the GBBA and also to Pam and Lisa and Amy for the invigorating discussion. And I also want to shout out all of the amazing businesses that are in Burnside, folks who have put themselves personally on the line to build business here in Nova Scotia, investing in our province and for the for the good of our province. So thank you to all of you. I have been, as I said at the beginning, honored to serve this area for the last 4 years. I hope I get to continue. I think that I've been doing great work in many of these areas and want to keep going. Thanks.
Thanks, Susan. And Pam, we'll give you 1 minute to wrap things up.
Thanks, Amy. And thank you. Thank you, Susan and Lisa, for a feisty debate. Thank you for the GBBA for hosting this and everybody that worked to put this on. I want to do a shout out to all my volunteers that are out there watching as well. Thank you so much for your support. Yeah, I just think that I just wanted to say that, we're putting out our economic platform today, right in a few minutes. And I would encourage you to go out and take a look at that. Take a look at the Liberal platforms and affordable housing and the issues that we talked about today. I think you'll like what you'll see. I look forward to being, if I ever get the privilege of being your candidate, your elected representative in the legislature, I will work hard for business. And again, I congratulate all the businesses that have been out there working hard through this difficult time. And I look forward to working for you around the government table. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. That is all the time we have for today's Candidates Forum. On behalf of the board of the Greater Burnside Business Association and our members, thank you again for prioritizing this event and giving all of us the opportunity to hear your responses and your priorities on these important issues. Personally, it's been wonderful to have 3 strong women in the room and on the screens, so let's keep that going. To those watching, if you'll indulge me for a moment, I'd like to take a moment to encourage you to vote. Voting is now open at any returning office, and advanced polls will be opening soon. Go to electionsnovascotia.ca and click the links to find more information about your candidates and how to vote. I'm also confident that any of your candidates would love to hear from you with your questions and how to help. Today's event, we hope, reflects the important decisions ahead for our elected officials, and this is the time to make your voice heard. So thank you again to our sponsors, our event sponsor, the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, our corporate sponsor, Boyne Clark LLP, and our Zoom sponsor, Keith McKay. And with that, thanks everyone for joining us. Have a good afternoon.